Hey everybody, welcome to Blaine High School. My name is Daryl Beckers. I'm a learning technologies coach and your tech coordinator. I'm one person on a three-person dynamic team with the help of Lisa Veer and Steve Geiter in the Innovation Center, where we work with technology each and every day to support students' learning and our teachers. A couple of things that we want to help you onboard with as newish faces. Some of you have been in the district already. Some of you are brand new to our district. And we just want to make sure that this is a smooth onboarding process. So with the help of this document that's in front of me, both on my screen and in the handout, I just want to walk you through some of those first week, second week kind of things that we're thinking about to make sure that your first weeks at Anoka Hennepin schools are fantastic. So just as a heads up, the initial username and password when you log on in any computer at Anoka Hennepin, and that is laptops, PCs. This is a little different than Chromebooks, but you're going to just do first name underscore last name, and then your initial password follows this scheme. So uppercase, first two letters of your first name, lowercase letters on your last name, .2020. That's going to be the first time that you log in. You're going to be asked to switch that password. Heads up, you do need to log in your first time on campus. If you go off campus and try to log in for the first time, it just won't allow you. If you don't yet have your credentials, your username and password, please ask Deidre Hoffman in the main office. She's the head secretary for Mr. Paskey in the main office. The most frequently used tool is just going to something called Rapid Identity. Rapid Identity is frequently called AH Connect. It's also called Lock and Key. It's your one-stop shop for everything that's web-based for teaching and learning. Things like quickly accessing email, Google Drive, Classroom, even things like Synergy for grading and attendance. To get there, you can just bookmark this site too as ahconnect.anoka.k12.mn.us. That would be a site that you would want to have bookmarked like I have here. To do that in Chrome, and I highly recommend that you use Chrome because so many of our Google apps and extensions and add-ons frequently draw from Chrome. So I highly recommend using Chrome instead of Microsoft Edge, instead of Mozilla Firefox, etc. So everything is basically waiting for you. That the big pieces here are waiting for you. Lock and Key can also be found by just Googling Blaine High School, for example. So when I Google Blaine High School and any site that is a part of Anoka Hennepin, you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner that same lock and key. So here in the upper right, you're going to see that lock and key image show up, and I could just click in and it would just load the same way. You log in again with your username, password. Username for me, Daryl underscore Beckers, and then use your password that you had already used. That's different than your email, again, as a friendly reminder. Number 3 on your list is all about class lists. Those class lists live in a tool called Synergy. Synergy is this icon. It's the equivalent to a student information system. If you've used other tools like Infinite Campus, this is it's the equivalent. It's what we use on our campus. So as we go through this, you're going to see, if I just pull up the first teacher, for example, I'll just use Erica as an example here. So again, if you are in other buildings, my first year, for example, I was teaching Spanish in other buildings. So you'll notice that you have the option to toggle between, right? So if I'm Erica and I also teach at Coon Rapids High School, then I would be able to toggle between those. And you're just going to notice that her periods 1 through 4 are listed here, and it looks like she also has an advisory. So when I click into that, then I'm able to see who my darling faces I'm going to meet on day 1, whether it's online or face-to-face. And you'll be able to do that by just clicking into that information, see who they are. And to create that class list, you'll just click into reports and you'll just click student list. And then you're going to notice that this in progress is going to let you know when that PDF is ready. And here pops up the PDF where I can just print that information. I could do a screenshot if I wanted to use that as a part of my preparation walking into week 1. So I know that's one of those frequently asked things is where are my class lists? That's where you can get that. You'll also notice some key information on those class lists or these icons, for example, things like photo permission is not an option. Sometimes there's a little sound icon with their pronunciation if they have a last name or a first or last name that is maybe challenging for non-native speakers of that language. It also has things like reminders of other alerts that we need to be aware of. So do scan through those carefully prior to week 1. How to build a gradebook in Synergy. Now, this is not something that I'm going to teach you start to finish. This is going to be something where you're going to access an online tutorial. This is also best fielded questions through something called your collaborative team, your CT. Some of you are operating in standards-based environments. Some of you are operating in a more traditional or points-based system. And because of that, we want to honor those differences. And you'll find out some skills through a tool on Rapid Identity called Who Knew It? And that is spelled HOONUIT. And Who Knew It is this little infinity icon. I guess I'll call it the infinity icon. And when it loads, this is where you're going to find training. So if you need some help with learning more about Synergy, type in Synergy and you're going to find rich resources waiting for you in Synergy. And you're going to see this playlist load up on the right-hand side. So it includes things like PDFs with documentation and links to movies for things like taking attendance. So here's just a quick reminder. You can click play and you can review this. And this is a great way for you to access information. Another frequently used one, if you're not yet familiar with Google Classroom, maybe you came from another environment where there were other things, there are some great tutorials here about Google Classroom. And again, this is chock full of resources that are just waiting for you. So that's another resource here. Who Knew It is that great, rich resource in number 4 about getting more training in Synergy. But you're also going to look forward to more opportunities and trainings with me, with your department lead, with your collaborative team member lead, or your mentor that will really walk and guide you through the gradebook. Because let's be honest, gradebooks are kind of messy. Number 5, marking attendance. I'm going to show you quickly how to mark attendance. Now, of course, I'm recording this in a non-school day, but when I go to those smiling faces in the first hour in Erica's class, you're going to notice that I have the opportunity to mark whether a student is there. This is where you're going to find that information, and it's going to notify me that it's not a school day. So it is going to ask me about Wednesday. And I'm going to mark that student here with terms like unverified, or terms like unverified is like the student is missing, or you might already see it that the office has coded it as things like tardy or excused, or maybe a medical appointment. So you're going to find that information, click save and return here once that's been done, and then that will notify the office about how they'll move forward, whether it's secretaries or your administrative liaison. So that's a little bit about marking attendance in number 5. Number 6 is all about adding printers. That's one of those key things. Printers is listed here in number 6. It says type backslash twice. Backslash on our mobile devices is right above enter. And I'll hit that twice, and then it says to type in the word print and 03. And print 03, when I am on campus, which I'm currently not, I'm recording this from home, It's going to populate a whole list of the printers of the entire district. In the upper right, there's going to be a little search bar, and you'll type in BHS and enter, and then now it will go from, 5 high schools of printers down to just BHS. So that'd be a great way for you to easily add a printer. You can let us know if you have questions about that process by submitting a help ticket. So speaking of asking for help regarding printers, the quickest way to get in touch with our team about something with technology that you're curious about, that you want help with, that you want us to zip up and help you with audio. You're asking for some help on maybe how to create an instructional video using a tool like Screencastify. At any rate, the best way for us to get to you quickest is by submitting this tech help ticket. And that is this purple form called the BHS Tech and Innovation form. And that's what you're just going to do. You're just going to fill in your name, what's shaken in number 1 through 4. Do you need more printing toner, or are you just interested in something? Do you need help? And if so, what is the best phone number to reach you at? And then describe the issue in context. You can also add a file here like a screenshot. So if you wanted to quickly take a screenshot of the issue and include that as a part of that, and then just click on submit. The best part about this form is that that is relayed then to me, it is relayed to Steve and to Lisa, the other 2 members of our team. So we also have specialties within that. So my specialization is working with teachers with instructional technology, things like Google Apps and the other presentational software, Gradebook. Steve is our go-to on printers. Lisa is a whiz on the labs, etc. So the best way to get in touch with us is by submitting this BHS Tech and Innovation Help Desk ticket. It is located on the lock and key at the purple form, and you'll see that right here. I'm just making sure that I review the other things here quickly. Synergy was that tool for grading in number 7, and in the gradebook there's also a tool called communication. Communication is a great way for you to obviously push out information about your class. This is a great way to create a presence, because I suspect that if we do have open house is going to be very scarcely attended. This would be a great way to send out quick information. So when I click on communication, I have all of these options. I can make sure that a copy goes to me also. I can send it to just students, just parents, both together, and I can even select specific students to quickly email a parent or guardian. I can send it all to my same section. So if I'm Erica and I want to send everything to all of my 12A sections that I'm teaching in fall, then I can easily do that, but I don't want to send that to my college, honors, university writing students because that information doesn't pertain to them maybe. This is also a great way to carbon copy admin liaison, 504 plan manager, maybe it's a counselor, a special ed case manager, maybe you have a running list like I did when I was still in the classroom with all of my case managers on a spreadsheet that I could quickly just add to that. Enter a subject line, open house, week 1, schedule, etc. And then just craft your message like you were in a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document. You can even attach files. You could add links to things that you've shared in Google Drive that people can access in Drive. And that's just a really quick way to send that and then return back to that, or just send it. They basically do the same thing. Send and return brings you back to the home page of Synergy. So that again is that communication tool at the home spot of Synergy, where you can just share out information quickly. And that's again really rich information that you can share out with your students, your parents, your guardians. Number 8, if I need to book a computer lab or a resource, way in advance, I'm just going to make an appointment at 1 o'clock that I need some, let's say students were face-to-face 100%, and I needed to book a set of Chromebooks. In number 8, you're going to see Labs Resources and Google Calendar. If you want to book a set of Chromebook carts, which we have 4 dedicated in the IMC, we have a red cart, we have a green cart, a blue cart, and a black cart. And they have keys that we have down in the office. In order to do that, I just add in Calendar. A general reminder, Calendar lives in this 3x3 grid in Google Apps. So no matter if you're in Drive, I still see the Google App grid, the 3x3. Some people call it the waffle, whatever you want to call it. And I go down to Calendar, and that's when I can create my appointment. So if I go a couple weeks out, as an example, and I just want to make an appointment at, I'm just going to say 11 a.m. on the 18th, and I need a Chromebook card, I can go to More Options. And this is when you could add a guest. So if I needed Lisa to be at that meeting, or if I've already, hinted at a colleague in my department that I'm asking them to attend something, you could do it that way. If you know it needs to be a Google Meet hangout with you or with students, you can do it that way. But let's say I need a Chromebook cart. So I could just say that this is maybe 4th block, 4th hour, and I'm just going to call it Chromebooks. And I'm going to just see which ones are even available. Instead of adding a guest, you're actually going to book a room. And you'll notice that when you search, you can search by building. So I'm not going to book somewhere at Anoka High School. However, if you travel to Anoka in the afternoon, you could book stuff remotely, which is really clever. But you're going to find Blaine High School here listed under BHS, and anything that is available, you're going to see here. So again, you could book the Innovation Center. You could book the IMC3 Blue Cart, for example, and you're going to see that listed in the appointment when you save. So you're going to see save, and now you're going to see that that Chromebook set is ready and available. And that also signals to other people in the building like, hey, I've got plans for this, and I need dedicated time with that resource. So that's a way to book a lab or a Chromebook cart. Again, this is going to vary, whether we're in hybrid or distance or full face-to-face. I'm sure we're all hoping to be face-to-face. Of course, we're all hoping that it is safe when we are face-to-face. Number 9, I kind of feel like I'm Dave Letterman here on the top 10 list. Number 9, maybe some of you are too young to know who Dave Letterman is. Access to 504s and IEPs. Now, I can't show you too much from this because this is some very private data, and I don't want to I don't want to showcase student information that isn't privy to everyone's eyes. So I can show you a few steps on how to find that information. Viewpoint is one of the last icons in my lock and key view. Viewpoint has a VP icon there near the bottom. And this is where you are going to locate any student IEPs, 504 plans, etc. Really important information to have at the top of any trimester. So again, I can't show you a ton of information without showing you private student data. However, this is where you're going to find that information. You're going to toggle between which site that you're at, which grades of information. Someone who's a real whiz with this tool, Viewpoint, is Kevin Bross, another face that you're going to frequently visit with in year 1 in particular. This is where you're going to find the information on getting a full IEP so that you can make those required accommodations so that we can make sure that curriculum is accessible by all students, that we can make for a more equitable experience for all learners, no matter if they have a specific learning disability or Maybe they have a hearing impairment, a hearing loss. So that's another important piece there. It says to select the year in the handout in number 9 and to click on Student Demographics Explorer. And that, you'll notice, you'll be able to modify that information. In fact, I'm just going to toggle back to a year that I know that I was in the classroom. And I'm going to go to Student Demographic Explorer. And again, I'm going to blur out this information, and I can go over all the way to the right. You're going to see that there is a drill down here for special ed disability. And you're going to click the little drill icon next to it. And this is where you're going to include 504 students, include EBD students. You're going to include SLD for writing and it looks like reading. You're going to include a student with a traumatic brain injury. You're going to include students who are visually impaired, and then you're going to click on plus. And when you click on save, rather, on that little disk, that's an old icon for a floppy disk for those of you who are younger than 30. That is a great way to then quickly get that information on that student so that you can really design with all students in mind. You can start designing your instruction with everybody in mind. And that might include, again, modifications or accommodations for students in their assessments or their instructions. Is it a student who needs a large visual, a large print text? Is it a student who needs reminders? Is it a student who, fill in the blank? That's where you're going to find a lot of information. It looks like at the top of the next handout, right before 10, it gives you those steps again to locate that IEP in the 504. Two last things I want to sign off with here on numbers 10 and 11 from the handout is Chromebook care and carts. We are on year 9 of a levy that our community has invested a considerable amount of money, and teams like our own tech team have really invested a lot of time into that also. When you are working with students and you have them in your classroom and you have maybe a cart of Chromebooks, watch out for them. Double check your counts at the top of the hour and the end of the hour. Have a student that is sitting close to the door that you can, have that, maybe put a little masking tape on that student's desk or a little computer label printout that says Chromebook. And maybe Ricky is your Chromebook guy at the end of that hour and first hour. And Ricky's going to give you the thumbs up when you have 34 Chromebooks. Make sure that they're plugged in. Ask Ricky or your student who's sitting next to those Chromebooks at the end of each hour to re-plug them in. Chromebooks are an expensive piece for our building, but they really we've leveraged Chromebooks in very unique ways to enhance the teaching and learning experience in our district. And we want to showcase to the community that we're responsible with those dollars. So that being said, I really want you to think about how can we create those procedures up front? Having Ricky be the point person, checking those numbers at the top of the hour and the end of the hour. If you leave the room, lock the Chromebook cart, if in fact you're using a Chromebook cart setup. Be looking for cracked screens on computers when they're open and out. Assign the same students the same Chromebook each time. A way that I did that was I just took a screenshot of that class list from Synergy and I put numbers on a Google slide so that Ricky was number 1 and that Elena was going to be last. And I knew that Elena was going to pick, Chromebook 33 every day, so that when you have that consistency, now I can go back to all the 33s. If there's a broken screen and we have to pay for a $50 fix, then we can take care of that by asking all the students with 33. You just can't have that accountability if you don't know who's using your Chromebooks. So without, going into too much depth there, we just need for us to set up procedures in class to make sure that we have accountability for student use of those Chromebooks. Again, this is more appropriate if You have students in class face-to-face using Chromebooks off of a cart of 35 Chromebooks, a cart of 20 Chromebooks, for example, in math. And then resources is the last bullet point in my handout here. We're the largest school district in the state of Minnesota. We have considerable resources, and I don't just mean shiny aluminum objects. I'm referring to the people. You have access to people like Kevin Bross, who can walk you through student data and how you want to redesign instruction with the data points that you already have in mind. After 4 weeks of instruction, you have access to Ronnie Van Yperen, and Ronnie can help you and your students navigate through the databases that you want to use in your English class. You have access to a lot of different experts in a variety of topics. Ask your department lead, ask your mentor, if you have a question, if you want to ask about how can I design instruction that is more inclusive to students who are marginalized or categorized as those in marginalized populations, and you want to think about through the lens of equity, we have people on staff who do that. And if they're not in our building, they're very close, maybe in a cluster within the Blaine cluster, all of our middle schools, all of our elementary schools. Or they're over at the district office, which is called ESC in this district, located off of Ferry Street over in downtown, near downtown Anoka. So if you don't yet have access to something and you want it / need it, ask. Ask me. Ask your mentor. Ask your admin liaison. If you're a world language teacher and you're working with Cass Barnett, ask Cass. He'll be able to locate a resource that you need, whether it is digital and you need some access to some funds to pay for that with departmental dollars. He'll help you maybe negotiate that conversation with your department lead. But we're a large school district. Over 40,000 students is a frequently used number. And because of that, we have access to considerable resources to really, we have access to resources that other school districts don't, other districts that I have taught in. That they just don't have the same kinds of access to resources. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't hesitate to come down and ask questions in technology. If I'm not in the room, in the technology office, in the innovation center, please ask Steve or Lisa. They'll be glad to help. And if they don't know the answers or if that's not in their wheelhouse, just like I don't have all the bases covered in technology, we have experts like Steve who repairs Chromebooks and Lisa, again, who works with those labs on adding software and making sure that things are up to date to make sure that it's a smooth working process. This is a chance for us to support you, and that's the mission of our office. We're here to support your work with students, and we want to make sure that you have an awesome year. Welcome to Blaine High School, everybody. Again, thanks for your time and have an awesome first week, and let's be in touch with any questions soon. Take care, everyone.